Hello Access, this is Nathan. Recently we went to Montreal to see Thief, and you should check out our gameplay videos here and here. But while we were there, what we noticed was the game has tons of customization options which deal with everything from the difficulty level to the kind of stuff that you'll see on screen. So we'll let Daniel from Eidos Montreal explain it all for you.
So here we have the main menu of Thief, and we want to just go through, show you some of the customizable difficulties and show some of the options we have already from the beginning, from the get-go here.
Cool.
So let's go into new game. Let's create a new game. And the first top three you'll see, the Rogue, Thief, and Master, are the natural, easy, medium, and hard difficulties that we would find in most games.
Sure.
But we have the one called Custom. Let's look at that one, because I think that one's going to be interesting. So, first thing you do is you select what is the the overall difficulty you like. In this case, let's choose Master just for the fun.
I would not do that.
Just because of the challenge. So, and then as we scroll down here, you'll see that we have a lot of options to really make the game like the way you want it to. For example, we just enabled the fact that we won't be able to have focus, which is like the fallback for the player.
Yep.
So say you won't have that. You won't have the resource whatsoever. We can remove the reticle. We can remove the stealth, make it own stealth takedowns, which reduces some of the aggressive things you can do. So if you want more of the classic Thief experience, this is where this comes in, and you can kind of like make sure that you get that little more challenging experience.
Sure, harder.
Yeah. So if you really want to start challenging yourself in terms of the gameplay, we have things like the zero damage, which means if you take any damage whatsoever, the mission is failed. Nice. We have make it more expensive with the resources, means you really have to pick your battles when you use them. We have no food or puppies, which means throughout the entire game you cannot regenerate anything.
No, I think it's important because I'm looking at these and thinking, why would anyone choose any of these? But the reason is because obviously the Thief community is well established, it's been going for a long time, and it's a game that people really like to challenge themselves extraordinarily hard on, right? So this is obviously something you guys have thought about a lot and worked hard to put into the game.
Exactly, we really want people to share their accomplishments. Who can pull this off? On a personal level, I haven't been able to pull all these. You can activate all of them. I haven't been able to get through that. It's really difficult. And here at the bottom, we have the Ultimate Thief mods, and these are the really, really bad ones, because the Iron Man means if you die or fail, you lose your entire game.
Oh, man.
So you can save to go to sleep, have some sleep, go up, eat some good breakfast, come back and play. But if you die, you have to start over from the beginning. And I'm so looking forward to seeing people pull this off, because this is my favorite mode.
And for each one you get, so each one kind of puts more points onto the score that you accrue as you play through the game, is that right?
Exactly. In the bottom right, you can see there's like this multiplier.
Gotcha.
It bumps up your overall score, so that kind of comes back, so you can make sure people can see that you played with these switches on. No kills or knockouts means if you kill or take out anybody, game over. No alerts. Anybody sees you or you cause a big ruckus, game over.
You scare a
and then
parrot.
combine that with Iron Man and you're in deep trouble, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So this is really pushing the limits to the competitive nature of players, and I think this is going to make a lot of players really happy, and probably some really frustrated trying to get through this.
So then you've got the leaderboard. So I guess so people who want to go for the highest score, put it on master difficulty, put all of these to on, and then they'll be able to share their kind of hopefully successes, not just horrible failures, with the share button on PS4, right?
Exactly. We want to make sure that people can actually prove that they did this. It's quite an achievement, I must say. So let's quickly go back. We'll scroll down to options, but as you see, we also have a challenge mode.
Okay.
Which is another one with high scores. So if you really want to prove that you're an ultimate thief in the very controlled chunks, this is also a place where you can really challenge yourself.
Are they kind of existing maps that you play through in certain different ways to get?
They're variations of some of the locations.
Right.
And they've been specifically made to be follow certain rules that the challenge maps are.
Gotcha.
So we won't go too much into that. But let's go into options. So we want to really make sure that players can adapt the game to fit their needs or their expectations. So display is naturally one subject that comes up a lot. For example, do you want, when the AI is agitated, them to have an icon? You want to make sure that you have the option of having an icon, but because maybe you can't hear, you still want to be able to play the game. You can still play without it, and we want to make sure you have as much feedback as possible.
Sure.
But for a lot of players, it's very important to have that full immersion there. You can just sit back. There's nothing, on the screen. It's just whatever's in the world.
Yeah.
And you can just go in here and disable all those things.
Nice.
So we can just go through. Let's see here. We have the mini map. You don't want that help. You do. Do you want reticle feedback? Do you want the updates when you pick up a journal? Do you want the light gem to be in the bottom left corner? It comes from the original Thief to tell you whether you're like a shadow.
Yes, I do.
The loot glint is one of those things that when you pan over an area, you see a little bling.
Yeah.
It just gives you a hint if there's something that you can pick up that's something that has a value to you.
Yeah.
And you can also like even customize things like the your resource, like your health and focus, to fade out over time or just completely off.
Right, okay.
There's just a ton of stuff.
So these are all kind of visual aids. So again, this is not just immersive, but it will affect how hard the game is as well.
Exactly. It's harder to aim with the bow if you don't have a reticle, for example.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of things that that's information that we want to give to players.
Yeah, sure.
But if you want to, if you're more the player, just want to, go a little more on cruise, put it on easy. You put on all the aids. And you just kind of go with it. That's also a way of experience. If you're more in for the mood, the story, just the experience. But if you are, someone who wants a little bit more challenge, that's why we want to make sure that you have those options.
Amazing.
In audio, for example, for some players, they don't want hints or anything, or they don't want Garrett talking. So Garrett is kind of a guy who lives in solitude. He appreciates himself, and in some way he talks to himself to kind of give himself hints to kind of not schizophrenic, but it's kind of his personality to make sure there's a dialogue going on and helping the player, kind of his own best friend. But some players don't want that, so we enable the ability to be able to disable that completely. So if you see here the Garrett voice, we deactivate that. We will only have like the mandatory ones where he would talk loud out to other NPCs or so on.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of things you can do to kind of make this experience as close to what you would expect as possible. And that was always a very important part for us. So we can also go into game options, and naturally this is more adapted to the current hardware.
Sure.
So here we have some specifics for some general ones, and then we have some from specific to the PS4, the motion controls.
Okay.
For example, we also have the touchpad inventory. So if you want like the circle the dial thing, you can go back to that. But specifically for the PS4, you have the touchpad, and you can like quickly just tap on the area. You learn that pretty quickly when you're playing to quickly go to this correct arrow instead of having to choose. It just kind of comes as a shortcut thing. So there's a lot of things that are very specific to hardware.
So for people who don't know, how does the voice detection work on PlayStation 4?
Well, so you need the headset, but then if you say a sound, you would actually create a sound in-world, causing a distraction to attract the guards.
Okay, just like dropping a bottle or making a noise.
Exactly.
Else. Sweet. And you can turn that off.
Thanks to Daniel and everyone at Eidos Montreal. Don't forget to check out our Thief gameplay videos if you haven't already, and subscribe to PlayStation Access for more videos like this one.